These niggas ain't bigger than me. These niggas ain't Nas, ain't Jigger than me. These niggas ain't M, they ain't 50 to me. You ain't Pun, you ain't Pac, you ain't Biggie to me. These niggas ain't Crips, they ain't 60s to me. These niggas ain't Bloods, they ain't dripping with me. Niggas talking that shit by the new generation, man. Fuck these niggas, I slash your fucking faces. You niggas ain't so shit, not an album or a rock. Pussy nigga putting rings on my old bitch. Dick down the throat ass niggas, old hoe ass niggas. Happy cause you went gold ass niggas. These niggas ain't spitting with me. You ain't sicker than me. Fuck out my section, you ain't sitting with me. This for very important people. It's clear that we not equal. Clear you niggas faggots. I'm the Black Marshall Matt. Like yin 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 on the motherfucker. Who needs Hulk Hogan when you got Sting on this motherfucker? Less than 5 albums, kiss the ring on this motherfucker. California throne and I'm the king on this motherfucker. I don't wanna hear it. Weak ass lyrics, crying on the hook, thinking we gon' feel it. Oh, lost ass niggas, voice crack when you talk ass nigga, rolling blunts for the boss ass niggas. I came in with Ye, Jeezy and boss ass niggas. Your freshman cover a whole bunch of soft ass niggas. Tampon lyricists evacuate the premises. Mute BET ciphers cause I don't wanna hear that shit. May you rest in piss, you fuck niggas. Hey Frank Ocean, go ahead, fuck these fuck niggas. Yeah, they fuck niggas. Ain't no 3 stacks in your class, so take your top 10 spot and shove it up your ass, bitch, boy. Niggas already fucked your bitch, you bitch, boy. And every time you kissed on that hoe, you suck my dick, you bitch, boy. And when you buy that hoe a bag, that bitch carry my bricks, you bitch, boy.
Man, what's going on, man? It's been a while since I've been on this channel. I really wasn't gonna come back on here for quite some time. I was gonna let it, kind of stay in the lane of its own and let people who were interested just kind of review some of the information that has been on the channel. However, I was on Garfield's platform and they were having a discussion as usual, leading up to the debate between Jabari and Garfield and so on and so forth. And Brother Djed was in the chat and he was saying some stuff against whatever I was saying. He would say something against whatever I was saying. So I had made the assessment that, let me be clear. Did the Greeks actually learn Medew Netcher or Egyptian culture from the Egyptians? More specifically, I talked about Medew Netcher. That was my focal point. And the reason, the reason that I'm saying this is because I want people to really analyze what I'm actually saying. Did the Egyptians, the ancient Egyptians, teach the Greeks Medew Netcher? Think about my question. Did the Greeks learn Medew Netcher from the ancient Egyptians? Hell, were the Greeks even learning ancient Egyptian culture? What do I mean by that? Teddy, you said yes. So you're of the agreement that the ancient Egyptians taught the Greeks. Their writing script is Phoenician. The influences on the Greeks' writing system is Phoenician. Think about what I'm saying here. Who taught the Greeks Medew Netcher? Are you sure it was the ancient Egyptians? Djed says that he, you know what I mean, that I don't know what I'm talking about. My question is crazy, and all of these different things, and that he's coming to teach me. Well, he wanted to teach me something. You know what I mean? Because apparently I don't know anything, but I want people to seriously consider the question: did the ancient Egyptians actually teach the Greeks, or did they influence the Greeks? The or part is another topic. The or part is another topic. Did they teach the Greeks Medew Netcher, the ancient Egyptians? The Greeks, yeah, the Greeks' writing script is very Phoenician. Brother Lavelle said he's been told that the Egyptians. So we've all been told something, some variation to the liking, right? We talk about evolution and things like that, and we talk about the Greeks coming into ancient Kemet. But let's look at a few things real quick. And I just want to share it because I don't want to hunker down on this argument. I just posed the research question. And you know, many people they don't consider research questions. They want quick answers. This is the research question. Did the ancient Egyptians teach the Greeks Medew Netcher? So here you have a article on Egyptos. The Egyptos are also known as the Egyptian Greeks. Peep that. Egyptotes are also known as the Egyptian Greeks. They existed during the Hellenistic period until the aftermath of the Egyptian Revolution in 1952. The Egyptian Greeks. The Greeks have been present in Egypt since the 7th century BC. That's around 600 to 700 BC. I want to stop right there and tell everybody right now that the Greeks were present in Egypt during the 7th century BC. Look what it says next. Herodotus visited ancient Egypt in the 5th century BC and claimed that the Greeks were one of the first groups of foreigners that ever lived there. Diodorus Siculus claimed that Rhodean Actis, one of the Chaldea, built the city of Heliopolis before the cataclysm. Likewise, the Athenians built Sais. Siculus reports that all the Greek cities were destroyed during the cataclysm, but the Egyptian cities, including Heliopolis and Sais, survived. That's a claim. Let's just deal with this. Alexander the Great conquered Egypt at the early stage of his conquest in 323 BC. Let me stop. Let me go further. I don't need to get to that yet. I think many people know where I'm going right now. Let me get down here. Let me get down here. Let me get down here. 600, 700 BC era. You're talking around the 25th dynasty. but more so in between the 25th and 26th dynasties. But who was ruling before that? Who are these people? You got Libyans at the intermediate period. Who are Persians? Who are these people? The Nehistiyu was during the 25th dynasty. I'm asking the research question to anyone in the chat. The link is pinned. Anyone in the chat that thinks that the Egyptians taught the Greeks, the ancient Egyptians taught the Greeks Medew Netcher. If you don't mind, you are more than welcome to come educate us so that we can get in the right direction and actually answer the research question. This is a fair question to people who want to learn. It's a fair question. So let me continue. First historical colonies, according to Herodotus, we don't have to go through that, but we get here 7th century Greek Dark Ages from 1100 to 750 BC. The city of Nakroutis was founded in ancient Egypt. It was located at the Canopic branch of the Nile Valley. This is Herodotus. It was the first and, for much of its early history, the only permanent Greek colony in Egypt, acting as a symbiotic nexus for the interchange of Greek and Egyptian art and culture. At about the same time, the city of Heracleion, the closest to the sea, became an important port for Greek trade. The famous temple of Heraclius, the city later sank into the sea. The city sank into the sea, only to be rediscovered recently. From the time of Promethicus onwards, Greek mercenary armies played an important role in some of the ancient Egyptian wars. Herodotus. How many Greeks were present? This may take a little bit more work than a quick search or anything like that. Now, I'm trying to buy some time to allow Djed an opportunity to actually come on and do his thing. Sambles Coop says that the Egyptians didn't understand the hieroglyphics when they came to Egypt. Who would teach them? Because at the time the Greeks get there, right? When they get there, who's ruling? Who's the ruler when the Greeks get to? Let's see if we could do this. Can't use this really precisely. Do anyone have a precise date? Says, due to strong culture, historical ties between the two nations from ancient to modern, especially since the creation of Alexandria by the Macedonians, King Alexander the Great and the Eastern Mediterranean Sea coast and the rich heritage and bonds. See where all of this is coming from? At the time of Alexander the Great and all of that, are those people ancient Egyptians? At the time of the 7th century, because that is the claim. The claim is that let me go back. The Greeks have been present in Egypt since at least the 7th century. Who's ruling is important here. So if they come in the 7th century, that's around 600 to 700 BCE, who are the ancient Egyptians that are teaching the Greeks Medew Netcher? James Powell says common sense tell him that some African personality had to teach them, but I don't think that you're actually understanding the research question. So you're proposing something. Go back to the King's list. Here go the rulers around 700, the 700 period. Shashank the fourth, Osakarn the third, Takelot the third, Rudaman, then Uput the second, Pajetbaz Namlot, and Thuthump. Then you have Teknoth, Bekenref, Nef, right? Are these people from this intermediate period, the 20th dynasty, after Ramesses the third, or all these different Ramesses periods? During this intermediate period, right? You got some strange stuff that's happening around 1000 BC. From 1000 BC onward. And then why are the Nubians ruling in the 25th dynasty? Because they had to, what happened? The short story is, and this is the late period, ladies and gentlemen, the late period. So what happens here is the Nahisiu, the people in the south, they had to come back up there and take something over. Who are they taking it over from? Foreign rulers. The Hekakasu. They're taking it over from foreign rulers, right? Reestablishing a presence. Because the real Egyptians had lost control. So before all of that happening, you got foreign rulers. The Hekakasu is in there. So I'm asking an honest question, not to cause an argument, not because I'm trying to get at something bigger here, but have we honestly taken a look at who taught the Greeks Medew Netcher, if that is the claim? I don't know who claimed that the ancient Egyptians taught the Greeks Medew Netcher. I think the claims are about influence. So I want to play a little video here. I've already played the other thing, and I don't care if Djed comes in now, but I'm just trying to sprinkle some game, because I think this is a legitimate research question. If you don't think that it's a legitimate research question, cool. No argument for me. What would be a better research question? Jamal says, Sean, do you teach that the native Egyptians never left? I don't subscribe to that, bro. I don't say that they never left. I say there are pockets of people who did not leave. There's other people that argue that. I'm saying what always has happened on that continent. Every time there's a conflict of interest and war breaks out among them people start moving. People start moving to different areas. That's what I'm talking about there. I don't teach that the people were always there. That's something that I've never done. When you have conflict and war and you have a multitude of influences from outside applying pressure, bringing in their stuff, doing all of that extra stuff, that's what happens. James said maybe they didn't know the language. All right, so Scripture Ripture says the Greeks. Now he says it was easy to teach the Greeks Medew Netcher, Mika. So who taught the Greeks Medew Netcher? Because it wasn't the ancient Egyptians. If the ancient Egyptians taught the Greeks Medew Netcher, where is that at? Why would Taharka have to come up there and take over the lands if the ancient Egyptians is there and they're ruling? Who has control of the knowledge during the time the Greeks enter ancient Egypt? That boy crazy. But let me play.
The team will try to repair this woman's mask. They must piece together the broken fragments made from linen covered with a thin layer of gold. This kind of mask was very popular throughout the Greek period. But there is nothing to indicate whether Tanat Imen is Egyptian or Greek. She could be either.
What we see in the Greek period really is that they mixed a lot. They were married to Egyptians, even took on Egyptian names. So for us, it's very hard to distinguish between Egyptian or Greek at that time.
Greek influence was strongest among the people living on Egypt's Mediterranean coast. Here, Alexander the Great founded a new capital, naming it Alexandria after himself. But outside this city, many ordinary Greeks embraced Egyptian culture so much, they became almost indistinguishable from their neighbors in death.
When the Greek pharaohs came in, they noticed that they can't change the Egyptians. So they decided to just change with them. The Greeks adopted from the Egyptians, but didn't go vice versa.
The Greeks bought into Egypt's gods wholeheartedly. They saw them as versions of their own. The king of the Greek gods, Zeus, became associated with his counterpart in Egypt, Amun. There was room for everyone in the Greek heaven. These burials revealed the flexibility of the Greek worldview and the power of Egypt's ancient religion.
Egyptian culture has often been compared to a tsunami. The Ptolemaic Greeks come into Egypt. The Romans come into Egypt. And Egyptian culture is so strong. Culture is so strong, it's come into Egypt. The Ptolemaic Greeks come into Egypt. The Romans come into Egypt.
Did you hear him? The Ptolemaic Greeks come into Egypt. The Romans come into Egypt. I didn't say this. Who taught the Greeks? Let me rephrase it. I'm sorry. Did the ancient Egyptians teach the Greeks Medew Netcher? Or was it someone else? Who was it?
Compared to a tsunami. The Ptolemaic Greeks come into Egypt. The Romans come into Egypt. And Egyptian culture is so strong, so traditional, so conservative that boom! A tsunami hits and they are unable to escape being completely drenched in Egyptian culture.
So, if Egyptian culture created converts for hundreds of years, how did this extraordinary civilization come to an end?
With Wells Fargo.
My man, you too busy asking questions and you're not dealing with the research question. You want to ask me questions that are unrelated to what I'm asking. I don't care nothing about the Rosetta Stone. It has nothing to do with the research question. It's another question that you're asking. Because the people that wrote the Rosetta Stone, exactly. But people who wrote the Rosetta Stone ain't ancient Egyptians. It was created during the Ptolemaic period. So what I'm asking again is, because Djed said that the ancient Egyptians taught the Greeks Medew Netcher. I didn't make the claim. I only asked the question. Have we properly analyzed the question? Have we? Who's done the research to answer the research question? If the Greeks influence is one thing, y'all. That's a whole nother conversation. Influence is a whole nother conversation. That's different. We're talking about taught. We're talking about taught. Do we know if the Greeks knew Medew Netcher? Jamal? If they already knew Medew Netcher, who taught the Greeks Medew Netcher? Who were the ancient Egyptians that taught the Greeks Medew Netcher? These are serious questions. Yes, the title is a question because I posed the question. He said they already knew Medew Netcher. So who taught the Greeks Medew Netcher? Who did they learn it from? When did they learn it? Because they could have learned it in Egypt, but from foreign rulers. Or maybe they didn't know Medew Netcher at all, but from the people that they learned from, they gathered information that was influential to them. No, I'm with you. Think about what I'm asking. Okay. See, we getting somewhere. The Persians taught the Greeks demonic in the late period. So it had to be the Persians. Nah, Djed ain't in here. I put an APB out on Djed, but he ain't showed up yet. So the Persians, not the ancient Egyptians, but the Persians in the late period. Is that the answer to the question? I put the link in the chat, bro. Anybody, I mean, y'all can come build. I'm not trying to hog it. I'm actually working. But I was trying to finish up the discussion because some people seem to not really understand what I'm at or what I said when I said that. I said that really what I said was that the Greeks or the Christians, more specifically the Christians, was just copy. They trying to say that people copy from ancient Egypt and all of that stuff. I said no, they copy and Coptic. They ain't copying nothing ancient. They copying something that they created. There we go. Philly with the win, baby. 10-1. Way to respond. Down 13-3 in the fourth quarter. Come up and get 14 points in the fourth quarter to win the Gizang. Yes, he said that the ancient Egyptians taught the Greeks Medew Netcher. And I'm like, no, it couldn't have been the ancient Egyptians. It couldn't even be, who are you calling Egyptians at this time? Because if you're calling someone Egyptian in a period full of colonizers, and I quote, how can you stand on that, man? How could you call these people something that they're not? If these people were colonizing Egypt, they were coming in, they're foreign. These are foreign people at the time. If the people are foreign at the time, how could they be Egyptians? They're assimilating. I just want to know who taught the Greeks Medew Netcher. Was it the ancient Egyptians, or was it the Persians, or was it the Macedonians, or was it the Jews, or was it the Greco-Romans that came later? I don't know. Who? Listen, Mika was in the chat. Thank you for saying that. Says good question. But she was there. She saw the exchange. The bro just started running rampant because I had said something on the show. And I would say that the Greeks were very fascinated with ancient Egyptian culture, not present Egyptian. I seriously think that they were heavily influenced by them folk. But I'm not saying just because you have an influence, right? An influence doesn't mean that you're, you're just trying to, what is it? Hold on. You're intrigued. Nah, she wasn't gassing nothing up. She wasn't gassing nothing up. I'm trying to find a video real quick. So I just want to add this into the conversation. just kind of, you know what I mean? We waiting on Djed. We waiting on brethren. We're waiting on the brethren. So let's just take it a step further.
Throughout its history, Egypt went through periods of glory and power, but it also faced difficulties during the terrible droughts that brought hunger and suffering. The wealthiness of Egypt also attracted the attention of many powerful realms. Many enemies wanted to invade the Egyptian territories. In 525 BC, the Persians invaded Egypt, commanded by King Cambyses II. The Persians had already defeated the Babylonian Empire, and nothing seemed to satisfy their ambitions for new territories. The Persian domination of Egypt lasted until 332 BC and was overthrown by a young and ambitious conqueror, Alexander the Great. Alexander seemed unstoppable. He conquered city after city, winning battles even under unfavorable conditions for his army. He dominated many Persian territories, and, after defeating King Darius III in a great battle, besieged the city of Tyre in Phoenicia. After a great siege, the city was conquered. Alexander destroyed it as a punishment for non-surrender. Alexander and his army headed for Egypt. The Persian ruler who commanded Egypt had the good sense to surrender without offering much resistance. Alexander was received by the Egyptian people as a liberator. He was proclaimed as the son of the god Ammon, receiving many treasures. Alexander spent a short time in Egypt, but during his stay, he founded the city of Alexandria, one of the most important cities of the ancient world. It would become the capital of Egypt in the following 1,000 years. With Egypt's dominion secured, Alexander set out for Mesopotamia to attack the heart of the Persian Empire. After the death of Alexander the Great, the Egyptian government was controlled by the Macedonian general Ptolemy I. He declared himself pharaoh of Egypt and began the Ptolemaic dynasty. The influence of Greek culture brought by Macedonians influenced much of Egyptian life.
I've been getting paid $1,000 a month, if not more, just from this app on my phone. And I don't know if you can see this, but it's called Audible. Okay, so I'm going to show you right here. I have a check from Audible. This is for $1,100. This one's for $1,100 again. And then this one is $1,200. Every month, I am getting paid by Audible. For those of you that don't know what Audible is, it's actually a child company of Amazon, which is one of the largest marketplaces in the world. So Audible is where people normally buy and sell audiobooks and podcasts. And the first time I learned about this was 3 years ago from Christian. So Christian would put up these audio files onto Audible, and just like that.
But this happened in a natural way. The Macedonian rulers respected and encouraged the traditional customs of Egypt. Over the years, pharaohs of Macedonian origin were represented as Egyptians. Marriages between Greeks and Egyptians.
Pharaoh, say that part again, go back.
Were represented as Egyptians.
Who was represented as Egyptians?
Pharaohs of Macedonian origin were represented as Egyptians.
When was the Ptolemaic period? Everybody should know when the Ptolemaic period is. So you had people that were impersonating ancient Egyptians, but yet are you calling the impersonators of ancient Egyptian or the ancient Egyptians? Are you saying that these are the people you're referring to that taught the Greeks?
Marriages between Greeks and Egyptians became common, and gods of both cultures were merged. One example is the deity that received the name of Ammon Zeus. The military equipment of the Egyptians almost completely assumed the Greek style. Even commercial boats and war galleys began to be built in the Greek style, which was more advanced and robust. All the male pharaohs of this period of Egyptian history used the name Ptolemy to honor the founder of the Ptolemaic dynasty. The Ptolemaic established a great trade route, mainly by sea, and this made Egypt prosper again. During the Ptolemaic dynasty, the famous Alexandria Library was also built, which had thousands of papyruses and clay tablets, with the most diverse registers and studies in areas of mathematics, philosophy, and architecture. The Ptolemaic kingdom went into decline with Ptolemy. He was a detestable king, lazy in political affairs, easily corruptible, and cruel. He had relatives killed, including his brother, father, and mother. At the end of the Ptolemaic kingdom, Egypt was plunged into political chaos. Many Ptolemaic pharaohs were cruel tyrants. Murders within the family were common. While Egypt was going through another turbulent period, a new threat from the Mediterranean Sea was aimed at reaching the land of the pharaohs. Rome had already conquered vast territories in much of the European continent and wanted to further expand its domains. The Roman Senate decided to intervene in the political situation of the Egyptians because Rome depended a lot on grains exported from Egypt. If another civil war occurred, Rome would run out of food for its legions. The famous Cleopatra was not the first with this name. She was part of the Ptolemaic dynasty, direct descendant of Ptolemy I. In her childhood, she studied with Greek teachers and was educated in religious cults of different cultures. It was said that Cleopatra could speak 8 languages. Cleopatra became queen at 18. Despite sharing power with Ptolemy XIII, her younger brother, she seems to have dealt with the kingdom's problems alone. At the beginning of her reign, she had serious problems. Egypt was facing another drought and period of hunger. As time went by, Cleopatra's younger brother began to confront his sister. He had the support of his childhood tutors and other nobles who preferred a male ruler. Cleopatra married Ptolemy XIII, but it was a merely symbolic marriage, for they never had a good relationship. Nor did they consummate the union. Ptolemy XIII eventually removed Cleopatra from her position and began to reign alone. The Egyptian population revolted, and of course, Rome was watching everything, fearing another civil war in Egypt. In 48 BC, Julius Caesar arrived in Egypt with his troops, staying in the palace of Alexandria. Cleopatra, knowing the fame of the Roman general, did not waste time and sought to establish an alliance with him. Cleopatra was successful in her negotiations with Julius Caesar. The two became allies and lovers. Now they needed to overthrow the usurper brother and recover the Egyptian lathe. Caesar called troops to besiege Alexandria. This was followed by a series of clashes between the Romans and Ptolemy XIII's troops. Finally, a great battle took place on the west bank of the Nile River. Ptolemy XIII had about 20,000 men, and Julius Caesar had a smaller number of troops. But Caesar advanced with his army, which received Greek reinforcements. Both military forces advanced by land, while the boats traveled along the Nile River. It was a battle that took place on land and water. Caesar and Ptolemy followed the movements of the troops as they sailed on their boats. The battle on land was brutal. Ptolemy's troops were on higher ground and forced the Romans to retreat. Many Roman soldiers fled and swam towards the boat. During the confusion, Caesar's galley capsized with the weight of the men who climbed aboard. Julius Caesar had to swim to the riverbank to survive. At the height of this confusion, the Greeks arrived to support Caesar. The Romans managed to regroup their troops and counterattack with the help of the Greek allies. They conquered the Egyptian camp, where Ptolemy's troops were. With this turnaround, Ptolemy's troops fled to the Egyptian boats. Ptolemy's boat also capsized. Ptolemy was not as lucky as Caesar. He drowned because of his heavy armor, which dragged him to the bottom of the Nile. After the battle, Cleopatra returned to the throne. Most of the conspirators were arrested or executed. In 44 BC, Julius Caesar was murdered in the Senate of Rome. Cleopatra sought a new alliance with General Mark Antony. Mark Antony and Cleopatra were married in Egypt, but Rome never considered this marriage official, since Mark Antony was already married to a Roman. Mark Antony offered Cleopatra vast territories that belonged to Rome. In his will, he affirmed his desire to be buried in Alexandria. The Roman Senate rebelled and gave General Octavian permission to go to war against Mark Antony and Cleopatra. To face the situation, Cleopatra joined her army to that of Mark Antony. It was the largest maritime fleet ever seen in history. They left for Greece, where they were intercepted by the fleet of Roman ships. The maritime battle was disastrous for Mark Antony and Cleopatra. Their naval fleet was destroyed by the Romans. Luckily, both managed to escape alive. A year later, Octavian besieged Alexandria and defeated the city's defenses without much difficulty, destroying the plans and ambitions of Mark Antony and Cleopatra. Cleopatra was an enormously powerful woman. She managed to keep Egypt united and, throughout her life, protected the territory from being swallowed by Rome. Cleopatra's life and personality were so remarkable that they continue to be an inspiration to this day. In our channel, we have a mini-series that tells in detail the incredible story of this great woman. Take a look at the videos. After millennia of existence, memorable battles, and political intrigues, Pharaonic Egypt lost its independence and became a province under Roman rule. The legacy of the ancient Egyptians is extremely valuable to human history. And of course, Egypt will continue to be remembered as the cradle of one of the greatest civilizations ever.
All right, so I just wanted to kind of add that into the whole mix. I wanted to add it into the mix for a few reasons because I don't think people really know how to address research questions. And I don't think that people think about what people are asking and they assume a lot. And a lot of these arguments are frivolous and built on beliefs or claims that have not been substantiated with evidence after hundreds of years. So I don't see Djed coming. I'm working. No one hit the link. You know what I'm saying? I'm trying to give some time. I think almost an hour is enough time. I even told him what channel. But I'm gonna get out of here. But the research question still remains. Did the ancient Egyptians teach the Greeks Medew Netcher, or did they know Medew Netcher at all? Did the Greeks even know Medew Netcher at all? We knew that they were influenced, but by the time you get the Ptolemaic periods and by the time you get to the late period, you don't need to know Medew Netcher. It has no use for you. Jamal, to answer your question, bro, right now I'm doing a special with Mr. Bands. That's the fluffy merle, the compact fluffy merle. He's smaller than all them other Frenchies out there. He's a compact fluffy, and he do a hell of a job. Nah, man, I ain't charging $6,000 to $7,000. I had a breeder tell me $12,000 to breed my dog to one of their fluffies. And I had another one tell me $7,500 to breed to their fluffies. But to be honest with you, bro, just hit me up on Facebook. I'm gonna tell you what I'm doing. Well, yeah, I can tell you right now. Hit me up on Facebook, I'll tell you. Let me just put it like that. Because I'm gonna give you a deal like right now to breed with Mr. Bands. You want to breed to him, you want to breed to him, and then I got another fluffy boy that's for sale, but he'll be, you know what I mean? It'll be coming like that. But yeah, hit me up on Facebook, Jamal. You already know the same name, Any Rick. Well, you can just put in there Sean, Any Rick, how fine it should come up. I should come up easily. And then I got them Merles, them fluffy carriers available. But yeah, just hit me up and I'll tell you what I do right now, man. Because I already got the lock-ins that I need for him to breed, but I'm gonna give a couple people a shot at being able to get him because I'm about to go up on his stud fee. We should be, but I should I was told by some people in Cali that I needed to increase his stud fee because he doing good work. He doing really good work. But look, man, I'm gonna go on and get on up out of here, bro. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna go on and get up out of here. I appreciate everybody tapping in. I don't look like Djed is coming. And yeah, it don't look like he coming at all, bro.
I don't listen to people that I can't learn from. So I don't listen to interviews of artists that don't have no value in what they say. I don't listen to music from people that I can't get no game from. Or
are you the smartest one on your team?
Definitely not. I might be the dumbest one.
So we have a lot to do. We must do our business, what we have to do the job. And we are not against anybody. It's not to be against. It's to know more about yourself and more about humanity and try to bring contribution to the world. It's like that. So this complex of inferiority is over. Like to say, I'm doing well, I'm okay, healing me. Heal what? You are not sick. Well, heal for what? You have to do the job. We must do the job. We do well in some in art, in music, in athleticism. We do well. We must do the same in business. We do well. We must in politics. We do well. So we must do well in a pure intellect business. We must do well too. Why not? We must learn Medew Netcher. We must know African language, African philosophy, African spirituality, African culture, African values. Know that very well. Bring that on table. Be proud of that. Because if it's lost, humanity will lose something. So it's good for us to bring this kind of. If they don't study Buddhism, we'll lose Buddhism. They may study Buddhism. If they don't study Christianity, the Bible, we lose that too. So it's good to study. Everything is a part of humanity, is a legacy. So we study because it's part of humanity. It's not to say we are proud, we did, came it, they did. Now we have to build a new pyramid. That's all. New schools, new homes, new families, new community, not people in jail, nothing like that. Be there and do well and be positive. This is what we have to do now.
I offended anybody, please forgive me, I'm so not sorry. You won't smoke, just keep it between me and you to get that pronto. They said smoke in the album, now they kept it.